Hi everyone, my name is Jay and I currently work as a AI scientist at Microsoft, and today I want to test how the old GPT 4.0 Omni model compares with respect to the newest branch of models O1 Preview models. You will be definitely surprised to see some of these results. In our first example, let's try to ask the simple question how many R's are in strawberry, which most of the language models fail to explain. As you can see, the old model basically gave the right answer, but the new model actually takes few more seconds and surprisingly it gave the wrong answer. This is one of the things which they showed in demo where the new model can actually solve this problem. Let's try to ask, are you actually sure about this one? It usually takes few more seconds to answer this for any example itself. They haven't reduced the thinking time of the model itself. And you can see that it actually feels that it did a wrong and it corrected itself. Let's try to ask the same thing to this older model to see is it still confident about its answer. Yes, it's still confident about this answer. You can see that the main reason this is happening is as all the LLMs work on the concept of tokenization, each big word is actually split into two small words or multiple words. So in this case, it's straw and berry, and that's the reason whenever the LLM actually process this bigger word strawberry, it processes in two words, straw and berry, and that's the reason it gets confused. And this is one of the examples they want to show that it has been solved by the newest model, but surprisingly, it's not actually solved by the newer model itself. Let's try to ask again. Let's try to see what it responds right now. Mm, Still, it feels that there are only 2 hours in strawberry, even though there are like 3 hours. And let's try to ask one more time. Still taking long time to process it. Sometimes it does take like more than 10 to 12 seconds. So now it's at 3 hours. Let's come to example 2 where we wanted to have like a visualization of a small game. Let's try to see how each whether the new model performs and how the older model performs. As you can see, the right side, the newer model does take really long time actually to write the coding which is required. And it's a simple coding. So it's just like a tokenize the words, and when you actually scroll over it, just show the probabilities of each word. And finally, both of them gave their answers. Let's try to execute both of these things and see how the output actually differs from each one of them. And now I copy pasted both the codes in the VS Code under the HTML file. And let's try to install a live server to actually view the HTML preview. Once you install, come back to the code and right click and click on show preview. And now let's try to see how the preview is. It does a decent job. The older model too, it can actually created the same thing which we requested. Like for the given text, can you actually calculate the probabilities for each one of them? Even the newer model actually does a decent job. You can actually look on the right hand side of it, but only thing is that the visualization is bit bad. And one more interesting thing is that you can see in both of them, it's pretty different the way it shows the output, even though the prompt is kind of the same in both of the case. Obviously, the values are also kind of different. If you can see on the right hand side, it's zero point 0.1 and zero point 0.2 and something, and it's different on the left hand side itself. So, uh, we can still like check whether the values are correct or not. I did check the values on the left hand side are actually correct. Let's go to the example 3. Next example, as you can see, we are trying to solve like a logical question where we need to find a age relation between prince versus the princess. And the actual answer is actually, if the princess is 40 years old, the prince is actually 30 years old. So the overall equation would be 4b equal to 3a. And as you can see that on the left hand side, the older model basically gave really quick answer. And if you actually scroll down, and you can see actually it does try to solve a simple equation of both this analysis itself. But on the right side, you can see that the newer model does took a lot of time to solve it. But in this case, actually, the both of the models actually did a pretty good job. But the only difference is that the newer model is bit better, I would say, because it was able to give far better equations. And if you actually look at the final answer itself, it basically gave the right answer where it tries to give the equation where 4n equal to 3n, or like let's say 4b equal to 3a. But on the left side it basically gave a small example, but it didn't give the really right equation, which is y equal to p by 6. So I would say that the newer model actually wins in this case. In the next example, we ask the model to write a poem based on few conditions. In the line 2, the last word should end with an I. In the line 3, the second word should begin with U. In the line 5, the last but one word should be eucalyptus. In the final line, each word should has like a two syllables. As you can see that older model actually did fail a lot in this case. You can see it didn't follow any of the rules. If you consider the line 2, it didn't end with I, and same ways it didn't follow most of the rules. Like in the line 3, the first word begin with U but not the second word. But in the last case also it should be the same. But if you consider the new model actually did a really good job. And this is kind of one of the examples which they actually showed, which tries to say that the newer model does give far better performance when compared to the logical thinking. So in this case, the newer model actually wins. In the next example, we need to make a snake game where all the code of the snake game should be in a one coded HTML file without any imported package or anything. And whenever you press start and stop on the spacebar, it should either start and stop the game, and the WSAD uh, keys to basically control the snake. As you can see on the left hand side, the model did a decent job. It has written very quick code. On the right hand side it took some time, but it's writing the code now. But once it finishes, let's try to execute both the codes and see which one actually does a decent job. Now we have copied both the games of the both the models. Let's try to preview each one of them. Let's try to preview the newer model too. Let's try to close the code. Let's try to play the game. Couldn't play the game really well, but you can see that whenever you hit a space and other stuff, you can actually play the game on the left hand side using the old model. Now consider the Newer model, let's try to hit the space here. It's more bigger background. It thought that we need a really big playground, so it made like a really black background of entire stuff. The older model basically took a bigger background and basically created a grid inside that. L- But both the models did a decent job here, so I think in this case, both the models actually win. So let's give each point to one of them.
In the final example, we asked both of the models to design a squirrel and a cola game where cola needs to catch the squirrel. But in this example, it's very surprising as the older model and the newer model all almost took the same time to actually finish writing the code up. As you can see that on the left hand side, it's the older model is still writing the code. For running this code, you need to basically download three images. One is the strawberry, one is the cola, and one is the squirrel example. Now let's try to execute both the codes, and it's part of a Python file, so you need to download a Python file and run it as like Python and the file name. Let me try to run this. Make sure you keep the right path for all the images. As you can see, it opened in a new terminal, and let's try to play the game where the cola needs to catch the squirrel. Let's try to rerun this game using the code generated by the newer module. Yeah, let's try to win this game. As you can see, we won this game, but basic thing is that both the models did a decent job during this game generation. So let's give 1 point each for this.